Alright, boys, welcome back to another video. This one might not be as long as usual. I'm not too sure. We'll see how we go. But this is going to be a OFM traffic source and marketing tier list. So, pretty much, um, yeah, I've ranked them exactly where I think they are. So, like, for example, if two of them are in the same, um, section, whichever one's first is the one that I think is slightly better. So yeah, first of all, we'll start. I think we're probably better to start from the bottom. So F, the worst, in my opinion, Discord, Facebook, and Twitch. So Twitch, um, it's not it's not bad, but unless you're doing collabs with people, which I'm not really putting into consideration. If you're doing collabs, which is a bit different to just normal streaming, then yes, it can be good. If your model collabs with any popular streamer on Twitch or Kick, whether they're from the UK or US, a UK one could be HS Tikitoki, an American one could be Clav, like Clavicula or whatever. If they collab with them, then yes, you can potentially get good traffic if your model, mentions it on that stream like properly and actually promotes it. But if not, without that, just basic streaming, in my opinion, as an actual traffic source, it's not really good. Twitch is more of a thing that, you know, big personal branded models do once they're already popular to basically make even more money from just something that they enjoy doing. If they enjoy streaming, they might want to make money on Twitch, and that's how they can do it. But they won't get traffic specifically from Twitch, most likely. Not a lot, at least. Next is Facebook. I think Facebook has a lot of mixed opinions. In my opinion, it's not good. Some people claim it's good, like the Facebook Reels and stuff are good. Um, from my own testing, I've never had success with it really. There was a few times where it worked a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I just don't think it's really consistent enough to say that it's a good platform to actually use all the time. So yeah. Next is Discord. Again, Discord has potential. It could get you subs. It can. It has for me before. But again, I just don't think it's really consistent enough. Obviously, bands, Discord doesn't really like NSFW a lot at all, in fact. So it is quite hard to, not get banned there. And also, just the conversion and the quality of subs on there is really low. So I don't think it's, again, too worth running it. I see a few creators have like their own servers and stuff, which can help. Maybe it's even good for a backup in case maybe your other pages get banned or whatever. But as an actual traffic source to find new subs, I don't think it's really good. Now Snapchat, so Snapchat as its own traffic source, it's not too good. If we're talking about, you know, for example, for conversion. Alright, sorry guys, I just realised that I forgot to add Frez and Bumble in here as I was speaking. But yeah, to carry on. So with Snapchat as its own traffic source, I don't think it's really good. Um, Obviously to convert people from different platforms like dating apps, Reddit, whatever, Snapchat can be good. Obviously, there's a lot of AI tools to talk to people, and in general, it's just a good app to use to convert people. People sort of think they're more connected with you on Snapchat. As its own traffic source is not the best. You'd need like a very long lasting account and actually grow it for a long time for it to bring new traffic. So again, I don't like as its own traffic source. I don't think it's really there. It definitely has potential. I do think Snapchat has a lot of potential and it could be very good. Sorry, but I don't think right now it's too good to be honest. Tinder, obviously, dating apps once again, very mixed opinions on dating apps in general. But in terms of dating apps, like other stuff like Bumble, Tinder's probably the worst. Even though it's the most popular, I think it's the worst because of how much updates they do, how much methods they patch, how much updates they basically have, all of that stuff. I just don't think Tinder's good anymore. It's not 2023 anymore. Um, Things like dating apps just don't really work the way they used to, in my opinion. Obviously, yes, if you really do have the hang of it and you have a lot of money to waste to try out new methods and stuff, then sure, it can be good. Obviously, dating apps is a very high quality traffic source if it works. But when it just comes to scalability and like being able to actually be consistent with it, I think it's very hard, especially for beginners or for people that aren't very technical. I do think it's very complicated and hard. So Yeah, moving on to B. Obviously, I put Bumble a little bit higher. I might as well just put Bumble up here instead of C. Um, Bumble is a little bit better. So obviously, Bumble is a bit less secure. They are basically like Tinder and Bumble are on a very similar level, I think, but Tinder is a little bit what like harder and stuff. So I do see even nowadays, even I don't really run dating apps anymore, but even nowadays I do see a lot more people running Bumble way more than Tinder. Like I don't really see anyone running Tinder nowadays, to be honest. Like most people. Um, so Bumble is a little bit better, works a bit more consistently, but once again, in general, dating apps are just can be a big waste of money, can be very hard to be consistent with. Basically same as Tinder, but a little bit less. So yeah. All right, next is Threads. So Threads, I think, is very good. The reason why I put it in B is because I think the quality of the actual subs, first of all, is not very good in my opinion. I think when you compare it to things like Reddit, um, YouTube, the quality is way better. Even IG, even though IG and Threads are both a meta network, because of the scalability and like how viral you can go on IG, it's just way better, obviously, than Threads. With Threads, also, I do think you need some sort of black hat to do well. Obviously, you can go viral organically still. So that's not changed. But personally, I have my own for mass follow tool for Threads, and I think that's something that you sort of should have for Threads to do well, because it has become a lot harder to go viral consistently on Threads. Like it's a lot more random in my opinion. Like with IG, once you sort of crack the code for your models and you know what works and what doesn't work and what can go viral, it's a lot harder to just die out of nowhere. Like you can just keep scaling and scaling within the same niche and just keep testing. But with Threads, it's sort of like you can do the same stuff and then they might actually just stop working and then it might take a while to find something new. So yeah. Then yeah, obviously next is YouTube. So with YouTube, I think the quality of subs can be good if you do if you do like sort of longer videos. Obviously, there's a lot of different ideas that you can do for YouTube, but overall, I think the quality of YouTube can be good. But again, it's just sort of like the reason why it's in B not A is because it's sort of it can take quite a long time to grow. Like an actual YouTube channel, it can take very long to grow. YouTube is one of those platforms that's long term. It's not really short term where you can just go viral out of nowhere. Well, obviously you can on any organic platform you can, but it's not as simple as just posting and just maybe going viral. As there's a lot more into it, stuff like that, and um, you usually don't get as many subs, even though they are higher quality. You don't really get a lot of subs from YouTube. Um, so in my opinion, for that reason as well, it's not something that I'd really focus on as much. Obviously, I do think it's a good thing to do on the side. If you've literally, automate everything for a model, and she says, "I want more work, I want to do more," then YouTube can be a good thing to consider. But I don't think it's something that you should focus on from the beginning. And then yeah, Twitter or X next. So obviously I love X. I do think X is one of the best platforms out there. However, the issue with X is just the quality of subs. So even though I think the scalability of X is really up there, how easy it is really up there. That's the main thing to really keep in mind. Is that X is literally, in my opinion, the easiest traffic source to start for a beginner and just start, getting subs within the first week. Um, but the way I run it, at least. Obviously, if you run it differently, then maybe not. But the way we run it, if you don't know who I am or if you don't know how I run it with a tool called XBot. I've got other videos about XBot, so you can go check them out. But XBot basically just automates the whole process of retweet for retweet. All you have to do is post. So, yeah, when you have a tool that retweets for you 24/7, you're basically doing no work, right? And you're just getting traffic automated. So for that reason, I think it's a very good platform to start with for beginners. And like I said, it's very scalable. The way we do it, to scale, you just need to make more accounts. Just more accounts and another tool and another bot for each account. And it's as simple as that. Like it sounds very simple, and it is very simple. But literally the only thing that puts it down to B instead of being an A or even S is the fact that the quality of subs is low, and that's just something that you have to deal with. But obviously, the more you scale it, the more subs you get, which means the more money you can still potentially make. But yeah, the quality of subs just isn't there which is why it's on B. All right, TikTok. So TikTok, in my opinion, is a very good platform. Obviously, similar to IG, just short form content, organic. Very good, very scalable as well. Obviously, the main thing for me about TikTok and why I put it in A is because of TikTok lives. Even though normal TikToks are good and obviously can go viral, you can make a lot of money from videos going viral. But I think TikTok lives, in addition to that, is what pushes TikTok up to A, because TikTok, the sub quality again isn't anything crazy. It's not bad, but it's not even crazy. If it wasn't for TikTok lives, I would probably have put TikTok into B. But because of TikTok lives in A, because with TikTok lives, you can be creative, test out a few ideas of creative stuff that you can try out for your model to do. And as long as you find something decent that can work for her, you can get 2,000 viewers live, right? And from live, the conversion is pretty good in my opinion. So if you do a correct funnel where you funnel them to IG, then you go live on IG, then you funnel them to OF and you go live on OF after all of that. Let's say even just 20 people pay like subscribers paid to sub, right? 20 people out of the 2,000 paid. That's obviously not crazy money, but then all of those will probably spend. But I say 20, it will be more. That was an example. I should have said more, but it will most likely be more even if you do paid. Obviously, if you do free, then a very big chunk of those people will subscribe, 100%. But even if you do paid, I do think you'll realistically make at least like $300 to $500 just off of subs, and then you'll make even more from on OF from talking to them or being live on OF. So for that reason is why TikTok got pushed up to A. And yeah, I just think it's a very good platform. There's no point not doing it, in my opinion. Obviously, if your creator doesn't have time, because if you don't really know, in my opinion, at least the way I run it with my creators is, this is the only platform that the model should be handling herself, right? With IG and stuff, with Reddit, with Twitter, you handle that. But TikTok is the one platform that she should be handling herself. Like, she's logged into the account. She can, like, obviously you should still send her the ideas and everything on what to post. Like, you should obviously still help her, but she should record the videos on TikTok and post it as herself. And then when she goes live, she should be live herself, not like a pre-recorded video or anything like that. She should be handling TikTok herself, basically. So yeah, I guess that's one downside to it as well. In my opinion, it works much better that way though. So yeah. Now moving on to S, the last two platforms, Reddit and Instagram. So Reddit, first of all, I love Reddit. I'd probably even say that I prefer it over IG, but obviously IG overall is still better. But I think Reddit, again, for how high the quality of subs can be, it's such a simple and easy platform in my opinion to work with. Obviously a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but in my opinion, Reddit is actually a very simple platform. When you really think about it, it's literally just finding subreddits and posting, right? The only things you have to actually worry about on Reddit is just testing what works for your creator, which is the content, the captions, and the subreddits, and well, the niche as well. But that sort of comes with the subreddits. When you test all those three things and you figure out what works, and you find good subreddits / niche for your model, and you obviously start using good captions, and then you also figure out which content works best for your model. Once you figure those three things out, and then you run Reddit at a bigger scale, you can easily make 100k, like 50k to 100k a month with just Reddit for like a good model that converts well and does well on Reddit. Obviously, I'm not saying any model can do that. It's not true. Some models can't actually make that crazy money, as a fact, but some can. But with a good model, it's actually possible to do that with Reddit. I have multiple guys inside my private group that do that already. I have my own models that make a lot of money just from Reddit. Obviously, we don't run only Reddit, but a lot of models do make a lot or most of the money from Reddit. So yeah, pretty much overall, I think Reddit is a very simple platform. It's very scalable, very easy in my opinion. Obviously, the quality of subs is pretty higher than the average platform, I'd say. And like I said, it's just easy. Like, a lot of people don't also realize that you don't actually need your model to make content all the time for Reddit, which is another thing that people talk about a lot. Is people think you need your model to make constant new content for Reddit, which is not true. Obviously, when you're testing, yes, you should be asking for more and more new content to test how it works. But once you find what works, you can just repurpose, right? Obviously, I'm not saying don't actually model for content. The more the better, always. But if she doesn't have much time, for example, repurposing works on Reddit. It works completely fine. I think a lot of people don't know what repurposing is or don't realize it works, but it does work. So yeah, next, finally, IG, the probably the best. Like these are very in like it was very hard to decide which to put where, but I just put IG first because I think most people probably agree with that. And I think overall, for how easy it can also be, IG probably is a bit better. So yeah, IG, Instagram, finally the best platform. I mean, it really speaks for itself, right? If you're in this industry, it's organic, short form. It's a very non-strict platform in my opinion. You can literally use a VPN or mobile data. You don't need to worry about proxy or anything like that on IG. You can run multiple accounts on one phone, and it's Instagram. It's literally just reels, right? All it really is posting. So similar to Reddit, like I was like it's a very similar concept. All you have to worry about is testing which niche works for your model, and what type of content. Once you figure out the niche that works, and obviously make like focus on improving the reels quality, the background, the actual quality of the video with the phone, the background, like I said, the lighting, the clothing, the facial expression she does, just the type of content that she's making. Once that is 10 out of 10, and the niche you chose is good, or the niches you've chosen are good, then you can just scale from there again, and they'll just keep going up and up. You know, it's all about testing. It's a testing game with all these platforms, really, but with IG especially, like you're just testing a bunch of niches until you find out what works. Once you find what works and you go viral, that's when you can make crazy money. Obviously, the quality of subs on IG isn't the craziest ever, but because of how viral you can go, that's what makes it worth it, right? Because Reddit's quality of subs, in my opinion, on average is better, but you're obviously not going to get as much subs as you could be getting on IG. With IG, you could literally get a thousand paid subs if you go mega viral, whereas with Reddit, the chances of getting that are a lot lower. Um, so yeah, overall, I would say IG probably is the best one. But yeah, let me know if you guys agree or disagree with me. I think this is a pretty good tier list. I think a good amount of people would agree, except from the dating app fucking nerds. Probably you might think that that's S or A, but other than that, I think this is a pretty good tier list. I think people probably agree with me here. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to check. I can't speak. Make sure to check my Telegram in the description. I'll leave the link there. And yeah, see you guys later.